Hello, everyone. I'm Diana White, the Director of Programs and Events at the p.g.a. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this p.g.a conversation with the creative team behind Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. As you can see, we have an incredible group with us. Please join me in welcoming producer Jonathan Schwartz, director and writer Destin Cretton, actors Simu Liu, Tony Leung, and Meng'er Zhang, production designer Sue Chan, costume designer Kim Barrett, and last but not least, musician and lyricist Anderson Paak. Before we begin, a quick thank you to Marvel Studios for making this panel possible for the Producers Guild. Jazz Tangcay is the senior artisans editor at Variety and will be moderating what I'm sure is about to be an amazing conversation. So Jazz, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you to the Producers Guild, and thank you to Marvel Studios for this incredible group of panelists who worked on the incredible movie Shang-Chi. Congratulations to you all. I mean, Destin, talk about the film's success at a time where, we were bordering, coming out of a pandemic, seeing the film on the big screen, but also this beautiful gift to the AAPI community and to movie lovers everywhere. What has it been like?
We had one screening, one of the first screenings that I attended after the premiere was in Hollywood, and it was primarily a screening full of Asian Americans, and I was really nervous because that's the primary audience that we made the movie for. And when I walked in at the end of the film and heard the response, it was very emotional, not only because it was a movie that was embraced by my peers and my community, but it was also just really emotional to be in a theater again. And this theater was packed and to feel that energy between people who had just experienced something together was something I hadn't felt in a long time, and it was very emotional, and felt very proud of our team for taking the risks that we did and for putting this movie out at the time that it came out.
Yeah. Jonathan, take us back, for those familiar with the Marvel universe, the 10 rings were introduced a while back, in Iron Man, and here we are now with a feature-length movie. Where did the idea of Shang-Chi begin?
I mean, I think it first came on the radar of us at the studio 5 or 6 years back at one of those retreats where we sort of pick, who's sort of the next characters who are going to bubble to the top. And I think everybody got really excited about the idea of Shang-Chi as a character, and I in particular was really drawn to it just because I really like martial arts movies. It's a fun genre to play with, and genre often animates what we do and provides like a more specific voice to the movies that we make. That just felt like an exciting direction. And then over time, we sort of started tracing the connections between this movie and other threads from the universe, like the Ten Rings, what would eventually become the Wenwu character, like sort of the mythology that we built up with Wenwu in his past, and eventually what would become Shang-Chi and his journey to Ta Lo, and the sort of mythological, fantastical elements that come in there.
Yeah, and Simu, I forget what year you tweeted it, but when there were inklings of this film happening, you were like, cast me. You just give definition to manifesting something. I mean, talk about getting the call and coming on board to play Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I think the tweet that you're referring to probably came out I'm going to say December of 2018. It was right when they announced the movie. They announced that Destin would be involved, and I was like, "What's up, Marvel? Are we gonna talk or what?"
What were you doing, Simu, right at the moment of that tweet? Like, what were you up to?
Oh my God.
Bitcoin.
I was what?
You're checking on your Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was checking my big. Yeah. I lost the password of my wallet, so it's all good now anyway. Know how much it's worth? Probably like $5 million.
But you were on Kim's at the time, right? Were you on
I
Kim?
was, yeah, but we weren't
Yeah.
shooting. We weren't shooting, so I was probably like in between trips to LA. I was like, I was auditioning, in America for like the first time as a Canadian kid and like not getting a lot of traction. But but I remember reading the news and being like, I don't have a chance in hell that I'm gonna ever get this. But I like to be funny on Twitter, so I thought, hey, this would be something fun to tweet out into the universe. I need to be very clear. Nobody ever read it. Jonathan never read it. Destin never read it. Kevin never read it. And then we just kind of went about our merry way. But a few months later, I did get a call to send in a tape, which I did, leading off with a backflip, because I thought that would increase my chances of
Seal the deal.
popping. And so, so for actors that usually have like, they do what's called a slate, which is where they introduce themselves. So I said like, hi, my name is Simu Liu. I'm, blah, blah, blah years old. I'm based in Toronto. And like my action experience is like this, and then I did a backflip.
It was a really good backflip.
And then I looked at the camera, did one of these superhero landings like this, and I looked at the camera and it was the cheesiest thing ever. But wonderful folks over at Marvel and Destin looked past that and saw, hopefully something that they could actually work with, and then invited me for a call back and then a screen test, and then when I got the call, I mean, it was July 16th, 2019, about 6:30 p.m. Is that moment etched into my brain forever? Yes, 100%. It's just kind of in my apartment in Toronto, and then got a call, and all of a sudden everything was different.
Oh my gosh. And then the world was changed forever. I mean, talking about audition tapes, Meng'er, didn't you have an interesting self-tape story? Like, you didn't know you were auditioning for a Marvel movie. Like, share that story.
You're right. I didn't know. I just saw the audition call in a group chat. It said they needed a girl who can speak Chinese and English, and they didn't mention anything about Marvel, about Shang-Chi, anything. And I thought, okay, I could do that. So I sent my self-tapes, and then I got a call back when they flew me to do the screen test with Simu and Destin. I realized that, okay, I was auditioning for Shang-Chi. Yeah, that was crazy.
Destin, what do you remember about that audition, that self-tape?
I actually remember Meng'er like doing this with a what was it, a chopstick or like a yeah. She was like, but she was playing this scene and she just had this playful attitude about her as she was playing this scene that I think a lot of actors just played as pure bad. She added this playfulness to it that was very fun and surprising. And I do think that we've gotten the comment a lot about this movie being so authentic, and there's so many reasons for that. But I do think one of the biggest reasons was this cast, and that Simu was what I mean. I honestly don't know if there's another person on the planet who could have played this role, for so many reasons. Not only because Simu is an amazing actor, but he naturally spans two cultures. He didn't have to learn that; it's ingrained in him. He naturally speaks Mandarin and is very American or Western as well. And when it came to the Xialing's character, it was really important for us to find somebody from mainland China, but who also was a modern young woman. And Meng'er was like, I mean, we saw a lot of people and there was nobody who did that. And it would have been a very different character, I think, if it was an American actor who was putting on an accent and trying to do that. And then, of course, Tony Leung, who you can't be more genuine and authentic than Tony at pretty much anything.
Yeah. Tony, you have, you know, such an incredible career, but like this is your first big Hollywood role. What was it about the script that was like, that stood out for you and was like, I have to do this? Like, talk about your process in getting involved.
I can still remember when I have a phone call with Destin, I know I'm doing Marvel movies, but I have no idea what the story is about, because he's not going to tell me about anything about the story. And I know a little hints about my character. And the only thing I remember is he said, my character has many layers and you are doing a bad guy. And yeah, that was really something I want to do, because I seldom do a bad guy in my, you know, in my acting career. So I really want to try that. But at the end of the day, after I received the script, and I said, wow, I'm not a bad guy.
I know, I was going to say, you know, he's far from a bad guy. You know, it's just a beautiful father-son dynamic in the end. Jonathan, did you want to add to that?
I don't think I could say it any better than Tony did. I mean, I think what was so great about what Destin had brought to the project when he came on as director and all the way through it was that great father-son relationship, and really digging into Wenwu and making him as sympathetic as he could be, and understanding you know, the emotion that sort of led him to his life path. I think that was part of the brilliance of what Destin was able to bring to it.
Yeah.
It was potentially one of the biggest challenges of this project, was the baggage that came along with the character known as the Mandarin. The stereotypes that character could have dipped into was probably the biggest pitfall that we could have fallen into. When Tony and I had that first conversation, I was like, I've never been so nervous in my life to talk to a person. And what I found about Tony was quickly how open and gracious he is. It was, I don't know if we've never fully talked about this, Tony, but like we were talking about the character, but eventually we were just, I don't know, we stopped talking about the character and started just talking about our families and started talking about those relationships. And what I love so much about Tony's portrayal of this character is that he did not see him as a bad guy. He saw him as a broken guy or a misguided person. But that was one of the biggest revelations that I think Tony taught me, was the moment on set when he told me that his character really does love his children, but he does not know how. And I hadn't really thought about it in that way until Tony told me that.
Yeah. Wow, that's an interesting, you know, that's an interesting comment on the character. Like, you'll go back and watch the film, that's who Wenwu is. And, you know, we've got to give massive props to Sue, you know, on your incredible production design, you know, building those sets that, you know, fantasy and the reality and having them coexisting at the same time. I mean, talk about building those sets, which you built out in New Zealand, right?
In Sydney, Australia.
Sydney.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was sort of a dream job in many ways, because, you know, growing up Chinese American, you know, the only time I saw Chinese people on the screen was when my parents would take us to Chinatown to see double features in the cinema. And there would be action movies and cop movies and love stories and all these genre films. And we'd, you know, it was great to see that, and I would read the subtitles. And, you know, then I'd go back, I'd watch regular entertainment growing up in New Jersey. And I would be like, wow, I have this mashup of culture, you know, that finally, now that I get to be a grown up and get to do this for a living, here was a chance for me to do every kind of influence that came into me: action movies, Chinese stories, you know, Chinese American stories, all of it. And so it was really, really great to have the opportunity to do that. And then, you know, I came from a tradition of sort of working with writer directors, and then listening to everybody talk about how the characters were so, you know, teased out and how important they were. And then thinking about the sets when talking to Destin as other characters, you know, Wenwu's home evolves with the story, you know, when he's a bachelor to when he's married and develops his whole family life to when he becomes a widower. You see that transition in the set, and each of the big sets has a part in fulfilling the story of each of the characters. And so that was extremely gratifying to do that. And then of course it was just, they were huge sets. And so having such a big department and working with everybody every day was just so much fun. I mean, it was just top to bottom a great time. And Marvel was so open to ideas. I mean, we would have these meetings where we would just throw out these thoughts. So like, what do you think of this? Some of them like didn't work, and some of them were like great, and we would develop them further. We'd work with special effects and visual effects and stunts, and we just keep massaging and massaging until we got the right combination and the magic sauce to make the sets work for everybody.
Kim, what was it, you know, what visions did you have for the costume design and creating Shang-Chi's outfit?
Well, of course, when you work on a Marvel movie, the Marvel, the visual department of the character building Marvel group has a strong influence on how they would like the characters to continue in, you know, in kind of the storyline of the group of Marvel characters. So the good thing about this movie was I got to experience that kind of way of working, but then I had a great kind of I was able to kind of design a lot of things that really were part of the story and beyond, you know, the main Marvel characters. So I got a chance to really work with Sue and Destin and all of the actors to try and create characters that could help tell the story character-wise. And you know, lucky for me, I got to work with someone like Sue because we really gelled quite early on, working out where do these people live and why would they choose that, and that all of those decisions came through into the choices of fabric and the choices of colors. And we talked a lot about Chinese philosophy of color, and martial arts, of course, played a huge part in how we practically put the costumes together. So my job really was to help the actors kind of find a place to live, and also, you know, help Destin tell the story he wanted to tell, you know, in a broader sense, and then also in a very intimate way as well, in creating a family, you know, a group of people who really were a family that had gone through many, you know, were going through this long journey.
Yeah.
I was just talking about you recently, Kim, in another interview about like, because when you're doing a Marvel movie, there's a lot of importance placed on the suit, the reveal of the suit, the superhero suit. And we all put a lot of importance on that too. And there is something really unique about Kim's development of the suits that both Shang-Chi and Xialing are given, and that is the emotional aspect, and the fact that the suit was given to them by Mother and by the source of their their individual souls and the source of their pain. And I was kind of curious, really from you, I don't know, Simu, what if on that level, what it felt like putting on that suit, as opposed to just turning into a cool superhero, how that emotional side of it contributed to some of those performances.
Oh wow, Destin, that's a wonderful question. Thank you for that. No, I remember vividly putting on. Well, first of all, I tried my suit on over multiple different points in its inception, and first of all, it's anytime somebody steps into a superhero suit that was tailor-made for them, it's a big deal. So even before I knew the story, which I didn't know when I first tried the suit on, I was already very emotional. But one of the first times I tried it, I had it on set was it was also at a time where the character was going through a lot and very much kind of inside himself and struggling to come to terms with, being in the new village and struggling to take in this information that his aunt was trying to tell him, and he was just so frustrated at himself and at the world. And it's one of the, it would have been one of the first points in the movie that you see him in the suit. The scene never actually ended up making the movie. It ended up being cut, but I remember it was very much just like, you felt the gravity of that and the gravity of like, it's almost like your parent, you're literally wearing your mother's hopes and dreams for you. And it's like, it can feel extremely empowering, but it can also feel crippling in a lot of ways, just feeling the weight of all that.
I've never thought about that, like the expectations of parents that you like woven into that suit.
That's an amazing, way to look at that, Kim. And so thank you for bringing that up, and Destin, obviously, for getting that answer out of Simu. Anderson, we have to talk about Fire in the Sky, which plays it in the movie. Talk about how you came to get involved in a Marvel movie, and what are the pressures of writing a track like, that you've written your songs for your album, obviously, but there's a whole expectation that comes with it. So take us through the songwriting journey and working with Destin and Jonathan.
Oh man, it was a treat. I was telling them before, I know I was probably a big pain in the ass, but I had a lot of fun, and they were real patient with me. But I got hooked up through a couple of people. It's kind of like the little network of friends. One of them was Dumbfounded, who was working with Sean at 88 Rising. Another was Aquafina, who's another friend of mine. And me, Dumbfounded, and Aquafina, we go way back since early 2000s in LA, just trying to make it in music. And we all been good friends. And they were telling me about this project for a while. And Aquafina was really pushing, Destin's a great director. This is going to be sick. And I was like, well, tell me about it. Like, what's up? Nobody could tell me anything. So then they were like, I got invited to the studio with 88 with Sean, and he wanted to get me with Roger, this producer, in order to do some songs for the movie. And I was like, bet, I'm down. Anytime it's like with Marvel or anything for a movie, I'm super down, because that means the song is going to hopefully get some exposure, and it's better. It's usually better than like working with regular record labels, because they have a bigger budget, and it's just like, yeah. It's like, all right, cool. Some people are gonna hear this. All right, tell me more. Yeah. But they couldn't tell me anything. It's like everything was top secret. But I knew it was gonna be dope, and Aquafina, everybody just had such high hopes for it, and everybody was like, "This is gonna be amazing. We want to be a part of it." And so when we got in the studio, me and Roger, I was like, I don't know anything about the movie, but we can't go wrong with a love song. Hopefully, there's some romance or something, but maybe we just keep it broad, and we'll do a bunch of songs, and like maybe there's something of anything that they'll like, hopefully. And I think we did like 4 or 5 songs that night. And Fire in the Sky was the last song we did at like 4 or 5 in the morning. Like, and I think those are the times where it's like the weird cuckoo hour. So people have like gotten real weird. They feel free. It's like, you know, like just something about that hour. So that's my favorite time to like try to make something. Like, all right, let's just do anything, you know. We already had like 4 or 5 ideas, and I was like, let's do one more on the way out. And I was like, let's do this like ballad where it's no drums and strings, and it's, you can imagine like an orchestra and like just being in the Hollywood Bowl and piano. And we made this whole elaborate song that was terrible. But at the end of that song was like, for some reason, we went off on this tangent, and that was Fire in the Sky. So
Wow.
yeah, and it was like, I remember getting the music back, and we had a bunch of stuff. We had the trap one, we had like, like more of a dancey one. And then this song, I remember thinking, like, hitting Roger, like, there's this little jam at the end is kind of catchy. Like, we should maybe like, we should maybe work on that more. And you was cruising with your top down, in July. Like it was like mumble, but it was a little, the makings of something. So we went back in and just worked on that little bit. And then I think that demo of that is what Destin ended up hearing and really falling in love with. And then that's when I got the call back, and they were like, we want to use this one and this one. And, we want you to meet Destin. And I was like, cool, well, let me finish it. Let me make it into a song. They're like, no, we love it. I remember like thinking like, oh, those aren't real words. I'm just speaking gibberish. Like, let me just, if I can just have a couple days with it, Destin, please. Yeah. So yeah, they, we were going back and forth and doing, trying to make it as good as it can be. But at the same time, I had just started working on the Silk Sonic stuff with Bruno. And Bruno's a maniac, and nothing upsets him more than me working on other music outside of what we're working on. So I was sneaking away. We were full-time schedule with that, and then I kind of had to walk away from the song for a while, Fire in the Sky, and I didn't know what was going to happen because I knew they were on a strict deadline and we were on a deadline. But you guys were so flexible, and when I revisited it, I was kind of like sneaking away, working on it with Roger after the Silk Sonic session. So, we would get in the studio with me, Sonny, and Roger, and it'd be like, midnight, 1 a.m. when we start working on it more, tapping in. And I get back in the studio with Bruno, and he'd be like, you're tired, aren't you? Did you stay up all night working on another song? And I was like, yeah, it's for a Marvel, like, check it out. And then I played it for him, and he was like, it's pretty good. It's missing something though. And he gets out the acoustic, and it's like, it's got to change on the hook. It's got to do this, And I think by that time, Destin, you had invited us to actually come and see it, because I was telling Sean, I'm like, Sean, can we see something? Like, can we, like, anything? Like, and he couldn't give us any info. And so I remember we went over and saw a rough cut, right? And it was like no special effects or anything. And
the movie started at like midnight.
Remember?
Yeah. And showed up super late. And then we started the movie at midnight.
the midnight cinema. I liked it. It's my kind of hours. It was great. Yeah. And I remember I think we were just watching it through, and when I seen the scene where it was at and how you put it in there, I was just like floored. And it still wasn't finished, like when that version too. But I was like, oh, this is perfect, And it was just like, it was really incredible to see. Usually you don't get to be that connected with it. You turn the song in, and maybe there's like a bunch of notes that they have, like working with score and film and stuff. It usually goes one way, like you'll be trying to get it right to the very end, or they love it, they want to keep it, and that's it. That's all you hear. And then you'll see it in the movie theater, and like, oh, okay, cool. But it was cool to be this, connected with it and see the process. And after I watched that edit, then I went back and we made 30 more versions. And then we finally got what we got in the end, and it was just it's amazing.
I think there's like it's a magical weird thing when a song lines up with picture kind of perfectly. And because this song was like, I loved the song when I heard it, but I've loved many songs, and then when I throw them in the movie, it's like doesn't work. But this song is like what my favorite kind of art or performance of any kind of what I think all of these actors do is art that does multiple things at the same time. There's like this is a love song, obviously, about a budding relationship, or but I think that it is it is speaking to so much more than just that one relationship, that the song makes you feel the love between a father and son. It makes you feel the love that our movie talks about between this family, and the purely platonic love between Shang-Chi and Katie. All of that, like that joy that comes from loving another human being, I think was captured in such a cool, vibrant way in this song that it just felt so good. And
it really was just so perfectly in sync with what my character is going through at the time too. Is it feels, I mean, first of all, it floors me that you didn't even know what point in the movie that you were writing to, because it literally is it just could not be more that song. It's like riding off into the sunset. It's like feeling like you're about to literally take the steps into the next chapter of your life. Like there's just something so like refreshing about it. It's like something important is happening, and we're enjoying it and we're diving in, and it's just, oh my God, it really hit me. Just, it's such a beautiful song, and at that point in the movie, it's just, it couldn't be more perfect.
It's also we wanted this movie to be a celebration for all of us, for the Asian community, or whether you're part of the Asian community or not. And like we didn't want this movie to be preachy. We didn't want this movie to be specifically a hardcore social activist point, but we wanted to just fucking celebrate, like we wanted, like we've all been through so much the past 2 years, and when that song came on, it just felt like this strong, very strong celebration, which felt like we don't care, care, like we were pushed down, our grandparents were thrown to the ground, we've all been through the past 2 years, and we're just dancing. And it was just, I don't know, I got so emotional first time I watched it, and that came on in the end. It's not like a sappy love ballad, or it's just this celebration, and it made me so emotional to hear it.
Same, man. I got super emotional when I saw it, even when I saw it with the trailer, and the fire dragon like coming through the sky and shit. I was like, what the, we're rich. I was like, I was geeked, man. I was like, this is crazy, man. And I took my fam out to see it in theater, and to see, like, from what the edit I saw, and to see the final edit, and then we're all coming out the theater trying to do the little foot move and everything, man. It's like that was huge. And just like you said, it definitely felt like a celebration, and it felt like a lot of times with soundtracks and stuff, it seems like it's very unintimate, and they're just trying to throw names and just make something that no one's connected to. But it felt like everybody was super connected to this, and trying to make something super special and celebrate, and touch all of those social things by just making the best work, and that's what I felt like. That's what you guys did with the acting, the cinematography, the costumes, set design, and production. Everything was just stellar.
What does it mean to all of you to have this film out there in the world and seeing the response? Just going back, just seeing the reaction, like Halloween, little kids, kids from the community dressing up finally, as somebody that they they, going back to Sue's point, you know, they see themselves on the big screen, you know, for a long, it hasn't been, you know, it's unprecedented. So talk about that. And this is for all of you before we wrap. Tony, do you want to start first? I know, you know, a lot of people were dressing up as you for Halloween. What does it mean to get that feedback and see that reaction?
I'm so happy. Very happy. Yeah. And especially this is my first American film. So it means a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to all the Asian people too.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I'm just so glad that so many people are being introduced to Tony Leung for the first time. There's people out there who are like, who, you know, oh my goodness, he's so incredible. I mean, I know Tony, you're probably not on Twitter. You're not on Twitter. By the way, great decision, not being on Twitter. One of the best decisions. But people love you. People love you, and they, you know, well, a lot more than they love me. No, I'm kidding. But they're you know, so effusive with their praise. They really just truly connected with you, your character, with how handsome you are. You know,
Yeah.
all of those things. I mean, it's just it's so incredible seeing the world discovering you. You know,
Yeah,
even though you've been around.
I had a couple of it's typically the non-Asian fans of the movie. I had a couple people come up to me and say, where did you find that man? I'm talking about Tony Leung. I'm like, are you kidding?
Simu, you were getting tagged in all those posts.
It's really fun also to see the generational like circle that having, and it's generational and worldwide, you know, because Tony is a star in Hong Kong and China, and Meng'er's from China, and Simu's from Canada, and there are American stars, and then my parents who know Tony's work and Michelle's work are now discovering Simu and Meng'er, and the whole like connection of it is it's just really terrific to see, and every generation just gets a lot of joy out of the movie. They walk out and they're happy, you know, between, as you say, the songs and the plot and just the sort of lightness of it and the desire for everybody to have a good time. And, you know, as Destin said, it's not preachy. It's a great ride, and it's well crafted, and it's super entertaining, you know, and no, whether English is your first language or Chinese is your first language, everybody gets it.
Yeah. Meng'er, what about for you? What's this experience been like?
Yeah, I just feel super proud because I was grew up in China, and you know, I turn on TV and I go into theater. I can see Asian representation everywhere and every day. So this is the first time I feel like, as an actor, we have great responsibility to represent, and I just feel super proud. And I read a lot of DMs, especially from girls, and they said that they didn't know how to use their own voices, and they didn't know how to stand their ground, and they were taught that women were less than men, blah blah blah. And after they saw this movie and saw the character Xialing, and it really inspired them and empowered them. I just feel, wow. Yeah, I just realized how big the responsibility is.
They were empowered when they saw you punch me in the face. They were empowered by how you kicked the crap out of me.
Jonathan, talk about the importance of having this film out in the world. I think we've kind of touched on it already, but for you, and you know, just going on this journey with Shang-Chi.
It's been a journey full of a lot of joy, and I am very proud and happy that the joy that we felt making the film, I think, was shared by the audience that got to see the film. And you know, I think it's been important and inspiring for the audience, and also just for the idea of movies and the idea of communal experience. Like, this is the kind of movie, and I think everyone was able to craft the level of story that you go to a movie theater for, that you want to experience with other people, and that you want to be entranced by. And so it was very gratifying and great to see audiences show up for it in the way that they did, because I think the audience out there felt the same way. Like, this was something they had to see, they had to experience with other people, and they had to talk about afterwards. And that's everything you want. That's a result beyond anything I could have ever imagined for this.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for that incredible conversation. Thank you to the Producers Guild, and thank you, of course, to Marvel Studios. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
all.
having us.
Thank
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right.